We appreciate it. Ready. Others. Hold. Hold. Others. Breathe that. Arms.
Ladies and gentlemen, please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order. Arms. Left. Face. Forward. March.
Thank you. And can we give a round of applause for the South High JRRTC as well? Thank you. Pursuant to Section 841411 of Nebraska statutes, the next regular meeting of the Board of Education of Douglas County School District 0001 and the Board of Educational Service Unit number 19 will be held on Thursday, January 23rd, 2020 at 6:30 p.m. in the board meeting room of the Teacher Administrative Center, 3215 Cummings Street. The agenda will be kept current and available for public inspection in the office of the Secretary of the Board of Education at the Administrative Building during the regular working hours. Pursuant to Section 841412 of the Nebraska statutes, the public is hereby informed that a current copy of the Nebraska Open Meetings Act is posted on the north wall. Please, Vice President Dr. Holman will lead us in our OPS vision statement. Thank you.
Our vision, every student, every day, prepared for success. And our mission, the Omaha Public Schools prepares all students to excel in college, career, and life.
Thank you. Mr. Ray, roll call, please.
Cassidy,
Here.
Godding,
Present.
Holman,
Here.
Cracky, Perlman,
Here.
Ryan,
Present.
Smith,
Here.
Snipe,
Present.
Snow.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. Moving on to our school spotlight with Jeremy Maskell.
Well, good evening, Board President Snow, Vice President Dr. Holman, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Logan. For our OPS Proud Spotlight tonight, we are very happy to welcome Howard Kennedy Elementary. Howard Kennedy students became the first to present on the only science in the sphere in Nebraska at Metro North Express this fall. It's a pretty incredible piece of technology. The program partnered with Howard Kennedy and King Science and Technology Magnet. And to speak on the achievement and introduce the rest of our guests this evening, Principal Tony Gunter is here from Howard Kennedy Elementary. Principal Gunter.
Good evening, and thank you so much for having us here tonight. Once again, I'm Principal Tony Gunter at Howard Kennedy, and I have to my right Hector Rosales Peak. He's coming up, our 5th grader. Melissa Zeister, my Dean of Scene, and Daphne Cook, who's at Metro Community Express North. And our big strategy at our school is to give our kids unique opportunities and to partner with community resources so they can take the things they learn in the classroom and have a real life experience. So Melissa's going to talk a little bit about what Hector did, our project-based learning framework, and how we connected with Daphne.
So at Kennedy, we utilize a project-based learning framework that allows students to research real-world problems and design and construct a solution to this problem. So our 5th grade recently concluded one of their units on civics and the American Revolution. So while they were learning the history of that, the civic responsibilities, they also were challenged to research a passion project of theirs. And so Hector looked up renewable resources and energy, fossil fuels and that, and through our partnership with Metro North Express, he was able to utilize data sets from NOAA and NASA to gather information and justify his reasoning.
The experiment went amazing. Now,
Closer to the mic.
the experiment went amazing, and I was very. The experiment went amazing, and I was very impressed on how the science on the sphere globe increased my education and Juliana's, who is not present today. I feel if we were allowed to use the science sphere more and easier, say have one in every school, we could increase the children's education by a static amount.
Wow. Thank you, Hector. Appreciate that. A quick question for you, Hector.
Question for you.
What made you come up with doing your project on renewable resources and energy?
I just want to make the world a better place in a different way. That way, it doesn't cause our economy to be rude to life and the other planet, the other animals that live on our planet.
Wow. Oh, thank you. That actually touched. We have some questions probably from board members, Hector, real quick, for you.
Come on back, buddy. You thought you got away, huh?
Yeah, I'm just going to walk off and be like this.
Ms. Knight?
I actually have 2 questions. First of all, can you tell me what NOAA is an acronym for? And then Hector, maybe you can share a piece of advice for us as adults that you would like to share with us.
Great, so what do you think on that? You want to talk about NOAA?
So NOAA stands for the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and that's where we purchased the sphere from.
You remember a question?
Here's an answer for your question, sir. I mean, for your question, madam. Renewable energies can help us in a very different way that fossil fuels cannot. Renewable energies can be used at all times, because I know for a fact that we won't run out of air, water, or sunlight. Only cataclysmic effects could do that to us. And cataclysmic effects are being put on our environment due to the fact that nuclear power plants, fossil fuels such as gasoline, oils, and natural gases, such as coal and greenhouse gases, are polluting and killing millions and millions of life. Back in 2010, the Gulf of Mexico was covered in huge amounts of oil. That's why I believe using fossil fuels such as solar or aqua or a form of ocean or geothermal could help our environment grow better and stronger.
Oh. Ms. Cassidy.
Thank you. Okay, so I know you're 5th grade, correct? I don't want to put you on the spot, but I think that all of us in this room can tell that you're one of OPS's finest, very intelligent. You definitely make us OPS proud. So good job on all your hard work. But I'm curious, do you have any idea at 5th grade what you might want to do when you're finished with school? What do you think you want to be when you grow up?
Oh.
No.
Oh, I have millions of ideas, ma'am.
What's one of them?
Maybe just give us a couple of your ideas.
I can give you 2. So first of all, when I get out of school, I want to become an engineer in robotics and veterinarian science. Because using robotics, we could heal animals with disabilities such as no legs, no arms. My cousin used to have a pet dog that only had one leg, and I used a little help and an old bicycle I had to make a wheel for his legs. It took a while, but it still worked, and I'm very happy that I was able to do that. And for my second one, it would have to be the marine biology and zoology. Also.
Well, thank you very much. We look forward to see all your success and what you end up being one day.
I look forward for yours.
Thank you.
Dr. Holman?
Thank you, Hector, for sharing with us. I think we all love you. You are you are a fantastic student and son, I'm sure. Can you tell us a little bit more about what the spear is, what it does, or whoever can answer that question?
The sphere is a digital 3D circle that can project any environment on Earth, including videos about what happens on our planet, and a small tablet is used to generate the different continents and pollutions and growings of our and time frames of our planet and our natural habitat.
Okay, so about how large is this sphere?
I would say I'd say about 6 feet tall, and maybe, depending on what you think about it, maybe a diameter of 3 feet. 6 feet.
6 feet. Wow. Okay. And then one more question. So did you already have a lot of prior knowledge about renewable resources and things, or did you just learn all this through your research?
I had many before this.
I figured as much. Thank you.
Ms. Cracky?
Can you email us the picture of your invention with the dog? Do you have that yet? Do you have a picture of that?
Well, sad but true, the phone that I used to take the picture is now gone. Very sad.
Well, if you take a picture, one of the people with you will be able to email it to us.
I really hope I can do that. But without my phone service, I apparently can't. Because basically I can't text or phone anyone.
Okay.
Not until the $50 bill is paid.
Well said.
You would be a delight to have in the classroom. I think I would enjoy you totally. Because whatever I said, you would know more than I did, and I would like that.
Any other? Mrs. Gotti?
So Hector, I'm very impressed. I've spent the last 2 weeks reading college essays to be sent off to college, and many of those discussed some of the things that you're talking about today. I think you're ready. This is great. So I'm so excited for you. Keep up the hard work, and we will be very excited to see what you do someday in the future, because you're very, very well informed for a 5th grader.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Hector. We would love to shake your hand. Each board member would love to shake your hand and give you a small token of our appreciation and congratulate you on your endeavors. Thank you so much. Congratulations.
No, I was going to say, no, I could add on to that. Are we getting out of the way so he's taking a picture, or what's happening with him? Are we knowing? Tell us to remove ourselves.
Okay, scooch in just a little bit. There we go. Okay, big smiles this way. 1, 2, 3. Take one more. 1, 2. Perfect. Thank you.
All right. That was a great start to the school year, 2020. Moving on the board agenda, Superintendent Dr. Logan.
Good evening. And watching the streaming at home, thank you. Welcome back to a new calendar year, a new decade, and the second half of the 2019-2020 school year. Young people, I sent a tweet earlier this afternoon to remind you to go to bed, put your devices away at a reasonable time so that you are ready to hit the ground running tomorrow. Last Friday, the school district sent a letter to all of our parents and to our employees regarding the flu outbreak that has impacted the state of Nebraska and Douglas County and Sarpy counties particularly hard, to make sure that parents are looking for those symptoms and knowing when to keep their students at home so as not to infect others, and then the times when students, it's okay to send students to school. We do not want to discourage attendance at all. That is not our mission. However, we do want to make sure that we keep each other well. This is a public health issue, and as such, we all have to do our part. The month of January marks National Mentoring Month. I want to thank each Omaha Public Schools employee who already dedicates time each month to mentoring one of our young people. We know the power, importance of mentoring our students, and we appreciate your dedication. Our central office employees are able to have 2 hours of paid time each month for participation in mentoring support. We have children who are ready for and need our support. If you are interested in learning more, please reach out to our student and community services team to find out how to become a mentor. On January 16th, the math night, as you all know, we continue with our focus on mathematics, and one of those ways is to make sure parents are informed about what their child will be learning. Our next mathematics night is January 16th at Beveridge Magnet School. I believe it's at 6 o'clock. I think I have that. Is it correct? 6 o'clock. Thank you, Ms. Comine. The Alice Buffett Teacher of the Year Award is, a deadline is approaching. It's next Tuesday, January 15th, 2020. Each year, 15 teachers are recognized by the Buffett family. These teachers, I believe, receive $10,000 each for use as they wish, and $1,000 of McDonald's gift cards, which I guess that's a good thing. And I will tell you that almost all of the teachers use those McDonald's gift cards to give back to their students. So that's as tokens. But the nomination review process and celebrating with the newest winners later this spring, very excited about doing that. It's a wonderful thing that Mr. Buffett has done for many, many years to honor a family member. The 2020-2021 academic calendar is now available, and it is online. So we know that staff and families who plan vacations and their children's activities well in advance. So we are pleased to share that with you, and you can access the link to download the calendar from our main webpage. Also, Kindergarten Roundup, it is time for those students who will be 5 by July 31, 2020, can enter kindergarten next fall. We are very excited about that. Please go to ops.org. You can go to your local school to make sure that your child is registered. There's lots of research that supports that the earlier children register, they actually do better academically. There's a lot of factors to that. Likely they have a person that's paying attention. They may be paying attention to many other things, and so we encourage all of our parents to participate in the kindergarten roundup. January open houses for middle and high schools are also on our website, and I want to thank South High especially for making a change to their date so that we wouldn't have 2 on 1 date. So we don't ever want to do that, because we want to make sure that we are matching indeed what our words say about having access to multiple programs and multiple schools. So thank you to South High. Go Packers. We have 3 South High grads, I believe, on this dais. We are close to launching our strategic plan of action. The plan is in its final review stages, the kind of painful review stages, looking at word by word. It will launch on the 23rd during our board meeting. In recent weeks, we've collaboratively outlined the values and norms of our school district and our core work, which is teaching our youngest students how to read. That is the most important work that we do in this system. If we get that right, we get so many other things right. So many things fall into place, and staying focused on our core mission is the goal and focus of this administration. For those of you who follow me on social media, you may have noticed that I've been recently teasing out those 5 values, and please take note on there. That's one way you can find out before the 23rd. But having those values and norms is really, really important. It's not just about what we do every day. It's about how we treat each other, and it's about who has access to programming through a value of equity, results, accountability, leadership, and joy. We look forward to sharing those with you. Congratulations to all of our students during the month of December, especially those who were able to reach that 95% goal. You may recall that we only had 15 days in December, and students did an amazing job. And then also lastly, graduates of the Omaha Public Schools Multiple Pathways program that graduated on December 20th. We are thrilled that you have made that milestone. We know some of the students who are in that program have taken a more scenic route, and that's okay because you made it, and we're very proud of you, very OPS proud of those graduates. This concludes my remarks this evening. Thank you.
Board members? Mrs. Gotti.
I would just like to take the opportunity to recognize a student from my sub-district, Lucas Craffel. And Mr. Gunter is smiling because I think he's gotten to know Lucas pretty well. Lucas has been working on finishing up his Eagle Scout project, and through the help of social media and getting in touch with Mr. Gunter, he has been able to provide 1,000 new and gently used books and 2 little free libraries to Kennedy Elementary, and Kennedy recognized him during December. He is also in the process of providing some books to Druid Hill Elementary, I think about 800. He was able to get, I think, 4,000 donated over the process of working on this. So I'm just really proud of Lucas for making all of us OPS proud, and for really focusing on early reading intervention and helping other students as an 8th grader by presenting, I think you got a bench as well, correct? And some books, and I think the same thing has happened with Mr. Othello Meadows as well for the Highlander neighborhood. So I'm pretty excited about what Lucas has been able to contribute back to our district, and just wanted to give a shout out to him.
Mrs. Cracky.
Is Lucas here tonight? I can't see you at the podium there.
No, he is not.
Oh,
He,
okay.
but he was recognized at Kennedy and at the Highlander, and
Okay.
I think he's also being recognized coming up at
And
Druid Hill.
Maybe he knows how to get into our the station and watch us tonight. You never know.
Yes, he will, and he does know.
Any other comments from board members? Mr. Pullman.
Thank you. First, I want to thank everyone who's reached out to the board with their comments and questions and concerns about Yates. It's an issue that we all expected to be on the agenda tonight. And so with that, I guess I would ask if there's any information to share with everyone here who has questions about that, about why it was taken off the agenda and where things are at with that. That's just a question I would have for the President Snow.
Okay, well, this is board member comments and communication, but I'll communicate. We did have some conversation amongst board members that wanted the item pulled, and we pulled that item, Mr. Perlman. And that item will show back up in late May or June. Next item on there is public comment. We have 11 speakers who have submitted to requests to speak forms. The board has adopted policy 8346, which provides public comment for a period of 1 hour. That same policy limits individual speakers to a maximum of 5 minutes. We ask that you respect that time limit. Mr. Ray will let you know when you have 1 minute remaining and when you have 30 seconds remaining. If you are in need of an interpreter, please let Mr. Ray know and one will be provided for you. If the subject of your public comment is related to a particular student or staff member, we ask that you not mention the student or staff member by name and instead provide that information to Mr. Ray. He will assist us in looking those types of details for you. If you do not get an opportunity to speak and would like to submit any written commentary, please provide it to Mr. Ray. He will make sure each board member gets a copy. As a reminder, we ask that you please spell your name and state your address before you begin your public comment. It is now 6:56, and our first speaker is, and I do apologize with names, Catherine Eckel? Eckel? My apologies.
I had recent surgery, so sorry. I thank you for this time tonight. And hard issue, but I also want just a little bit background. I actually, I know everything's digital or electronic and computer now, but at one point I started my career with OPS, working for this board, and actually helped one of two women to put all the old packets together. So those of you who are around or new, I started there. Kind of what brought me here today was also an issue on Sunday's paper and something that I needed to clear up. I left the castle at the time because of harassment and fondling by the superintendent at the time. Trying not to mention names. I went over to Central High because there was an opening for a secretary to the vice principal and athletic director, and at the same time, Central High was the host for the Metro Conference, so I was secretary for that year, overall 22 schools. And there was a remodeling going on at the time, and I will try to make this short. My desk became an outlet for not only all the students, athletics department, teachers and such. So I was their listening pad. I know some of this came out in the newspaper. William Reed, oh, I'm sorry, I take that back, but whatever, was not a real teacher. That came out in the news, and I apologize for the name. But a student was a volleyball player who came to me one day and said she couldn't take it anymore and that she had to stop this, she had to do something. And it was known that the volleyball coach, who had been in the paper several times as the eligible bachelor, had a policy that, and I apologize to the children here, but to sleep with the coach if you get to play.
Ma'am, excuse me. Do you have that written down for us?
Yes.
Could you just submit that to Mr. Ray? I apologize.
Okay, well, I won't go on. What I want to say tonight is I came here because I saw the paper. I wanted you to know the number is a lot more than the students or the people know. A lot of issues were going on Central at the time. Dr. Moeller, and this is my issue.
Ma'am, you mentioned the name twice.
I'm
sorry,
sorry.
I'm going to have to cut you off. If you can just pass your information to Mr. Ray, we will move on to the next person.
I want the volleyball player to understand I did turn it in. I did my job, but there's other issues.
Thank you.
And my daughter, I had to leave town because after my rape, my daughter was kidnapped by my boss, and I had to leave.
I appreciate your time. Our next speaker is Jesse Fisher.
Hi, my name's Jesse Fisher. That's Jessiefisher. I live at 521 North 33rd Street, apartment 9. So I'm here to talk about Yates. I live here in the neighborhood. My son is a student at OPS. He's in first grade. I've been in conversation with many people throughout the neighborhood who are concerned about Yates. So I'd kind of like to at least start by echoing some of the stuff that I've been hearing and that has already been said, last month at the meeting. I think Yates is an exceptional place as it is. Everything that I hear about it, people talk about the positive environment that is there, something that cannot easily be recreated in any other location. If you picked up Yates and moved it even 2 blocks, you would change the dynamic of it. By taking it apart and maybe some of the programs, such as the sewing classes and other things that would no longer be supported, maybe moving it to satellite locations was one idea. You kind of ruin the environment that's been created there. When I hear people talk about it, such as the people who testified last month, they talk about Yates. They talk about it as an environment. They talk about, they heard about a friend, the wonderful place that Yates is, not the wonderful OPS programming, not the wonderful English classes specifically, but Yates as a whole. So that type of environment is not something that can be easily recreated anywhere else. It's not something that you can do with any sort of planning. And it's something that took a lot of people, a lot of dedication and physical and emotional labor over the years to create that environment. So moving it to another location, disbanding some of the peripheral activities is something that I would like to oppose. Generally speaking, I'm a huge supporter of Omaha public schools and public education generally. I actually used to work for OPS years ago as a substitute teacher, often taking a lot of the hard-to-fill jobs that sit on what used to be SubFinder for a long time. I've been in and out of 30-plus different buildings as a substitute in that time, got a really good feel for the district as a whole. Let's see. Thank you for moving it to May or June for the vote. I'm glad to hear that. I'd still like to make some of my points about it. There's been some inconsistent messaging about the condition of the building itself. What started as a pretty strong declaration as the building of being unsafe, totally dilapidated. In the last agenda, there was a PowerPoint presentation. That wording had then been shifted towards not up to the standards or expectations of. My current occupation, I'm a professional home inspector. I have extensive experience inspecting not only homes, but also large multifamily unit buildings, commercial buildings, industrial buildings. I have took a very thorough look at the building report about Yates that was put together or made public back in September, read it through it several times. What I see, in my professional opinion, with all my expertise and experience going through this stuff, I put these kind of reports together. I spend hours and hours a week putting together very similar reports about the structural and safety considerations of a number of buildings. What I see when I look at the building report for Yates is basically a report about a building that's in exceptionally good shape, especially for its age. Some of the systems have been updated, the highest dollar systems, a new boiler system, new electrical, structurally in very good shape. Some of the numbers, it's kind of ranged at times between 2 and 5 million. The most recent PowerPoint that was on the agenda that got took down said 4.7 million. I'd be curious to see how much of that is comfort and aesthetic considerations and nothing that is considered safety or structural functional considerations.
30
I think
seconds.
that could be much, much lower. I would like to say that, abandoning this building, especially with transit-oriented development coming through, property in that area is only going to be more desirable. I do not think it would be in the financial interest of the district or a good steward of taxpayer money to unload this building.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Rhonda Rankin.
Thank you for the opportunity to provide public comment. My name is Rhonda Rankin, and this is my husband, Dan, and my daughter, Andrea. We live in the OPS district, and our children attended OPS schools. We were OPS proud. We are not right now. I'm not sure if everyone here today is aware of the sexual abuse case at Davis Middle School that was printed in the Omaha World Herald on December 15th, 2019. But I'd like to share a few things from that article and make some suggestions on how we can improve. Paraphrasing from the article, when Anna was 12, the grooming began for sexual assault by Brian Robeson, a teacher at Davis Middle School. The sexual assaults continued for over 2 years. The sexual assaults happened in his classroom during lunch, in the computer lab, and in the school bathroom. There were times he shoved her into a closet to avoid being discovered during the school day. In addition, he used the OPS email program to further groom Anna outside of school. Brian Robeson was able to express affection towards Anna at school in front of other people, giving him confidence, apparently to do as he pleased. Anna wasn't comfortable with this, but everyone liked him. He was a favorite teacher. He even told Anna that everyone liked him too much to report him. How could she say anything on her behalf? Educator and researcher Carol Shakeshaft completed a 4-year research project on educator sexual assault, and her research states that pedophiles work at being well-liked and recognized as good teachers as a way to access children. She states this happens especially in elementary and middle schools. Brian Robeson knew this and was able to use this technique to his advantage with Davis Middle School principal, and I won't mention his name. The news article explained there were so many warning signs, but the principal did not investigate or take them seriously. Staff reports were made to the principal about the inappropriate behaviors. There were 14 reports according to court documents and interviews. OPS HR and the principal, the response to the reports were just slaps on the wrists at best, in my opinion. When the principal was aware that Robeson was meeting with Anna in her classroom alone for mentoring, the principal told him to make it official and go through teammates mentoring, an official program. Robeson applied, but was denied. Teammates does not allow men to mentor girls. The principal did not follow up on this, and the one-on-one meetings in his classroom continued almost every lunch period, providing her teacher the opportunity to rape her. She was not old enough to give consent. It was rape. After 14 reports of inappropriate behavior, this should have been followed up on by the principal and OPS. What policy were they not following? What is reported to the Board of Education? Also, OPS HR and the principal did not inform Anna's parents about the reports, not once. 14 reports of inappropriate behavior, and her parents were left in the dark. They could have been on alert and had the information been shared. There could have been a different outcome, one where Anna was protected. The principal failed to lead and follow policy. I want to say a quote from our current superintendent, who was not here during this time, and I want to make that clear. She states, leaders don't get to sit on the sidelines. Their job is to act decisively
1 minute.
and boldly when required. Our children are counting on us to protect them. Leadership is always about courage and being a standard bearer for what is right. I'd like to recommend to the board for the removal of this principal in his position at Davis Middle School because of his inability to protect children. Based on research, there's a pretty good chance that other students in the school have experienced the abuse and not reported it. It's also possible future students will suffer without someone in charge that
30
can take the
seconds.
matter seriously. The principal has proven he sits on the sidelines. He is not courageous, and his decisions were anything but bold. Mere slaps on the wrist 14 times. He should not be in any position to make any decisions about the welfare of children. So the family had no idea about what was going on. I would like to know that OPS has a moral and ethical responsibility to care for students and families. What has OPS done to support Anna and her family, I wonder? Have they reached out to the family to apologize? Will OPS offer to provide the financing of much-needed medical expenses? The family will no doubt suffer the burden of long, costly process of healing. Please make it a priority to protect our children from sexual predators. And thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Rhonda, for the record, could you please spell your name and your address as well?
Yes, it's
Thank you.
Rhonda, R-O-N-D-A,
And your
Rankin, R-A-N-K-I-N, 5440 Western Avenue.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Our next speaker is Dave Korth. And if you could spell your name and your address as well.
You need my address?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Reverend David Korth, David, D-A-V-I-D, K-O-R-T-H. I live at 2218 Binney Street, B-I-N-N-E-Y.
Thank you.
I'm here also for our previous speaker, for the situation that was in the paper. I am the pastor for Anna and her parents. I have journeyed with them through the horrific situation that they have undergone. I'm not going to stand up here and say that I expect all of you to make sure that this doesn't happen again, because I know that you're already going to work for that. However, there's one point I want to make about this, that in 2019, that the lawyers representing you, the Omaha public school system, should not have re-victimized her. And that happened. In the course of the depositions, the lawyers representing all of you, tried to make it seem like she should have known better. As adults in 2019, we all know better, that we do not re-victimize victims. I think we can all agree on that. So the challenge I have for all of you, and now you actually have, legislation that will make sure that you never let it happen again, because now it is in law. But unfortunately, in the summer of 2019, it wasn't law, and so therefore it happened. Shame on OPS for allowing that to happen. Try to imagine if the Catholic Church, in all of the negative press that we have had on sexual abuse, had lawyers representing them re-victimize victims, the public outcry that we would be hearing, it would be deafening. I think we can all agree to that as well. So I'm challenging all of you to, like what that last speaker asked for, help this family. You all have allowed your representatives and the lawyers to re-victimize the victim and her parents. That should never have happened. Just like the abuse should never have happened, but I don't hold you responsible for that. But I do hold, and you should hold yourselves responsible to, who is going to represent you in court. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is Alex O'Hanlon. Please spell your name and state your address, please. Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Alex O'Hanlon. It's A-L-E-X space O'-H-A-N-L-O-N. I live at 3010 Lincoln Boulevard. I'm here today to ask the board members to delay the vote on declaring Yates surplus until at least June 2020, and to work with concerned parties in the meantime to maintain this programming in this building. And I just have 3 of many reasons that I'd like to present this evening. First, we need to support our community. Last month, I believe it was Mr. Perlman who encouraged the governor to send a letter to the president letting him know that Nebraska not only welcomes but encourages refugee resettlement. One of the loudest ways we can send that message locally, statewide, nationally, and internationally is to maintain and expand this preeminent programming that is as strong as it is only because of the bundled OPS programming and non-OPS programming in a building that is incredibly accessible and has unique facilities to meet this programming's needs. 2, moving this programming will create a break in this programming. Physically moving everything, the coordination and logistics and communication all require time. This is a trope, but it's true, time is money. And it's these types of hidden costs or savings, depending on how you look at it, that need to be included in any cost analysis. 3, we need to lead by example. OPS educators don't just teach their students to memorize facts and figures. They encourage their students to develop strong critical thinking and creative problem-solving skills. I think we all also know that sometimes the best educational moments don't happen in the classroom. They happen in the real world. So let's show our youth what OPS Proud means. Let's work together to come to the most beneficial outcome. I live in the neighborhood, and I'm committed to this. I just hope that you are too. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tali Yu Smith.
My name is Talia Smith, Talia. Smith is Smith. You've all already heard all of the reasons why the community is asking Yates to continue as it is and for you to not vote on the surplus. And we greatly appreciate the fact that that's been taken off of the agenda today for that vote to be delayed. But what I want to talk about a little bit is what your constituents deserve moving forward, which is information and input on this process. I can only speak for myself, but I can also speak for the opinions of people who I've spoken to about all of this, and everyone feels completely bulldozed and like this decision has been taken out of their hands and rushed through. I appreciate Mr. Perlman bringing up the question of why it was removed from the agenda today, because while that is what we asked for, and while we are asking for it to be pushed back to June of 2020, I don't think that anybody would have answered our question of why that happened if somebody hadn't brought it up. I apologize, Mr. Snow, but you seemed hesitant to even bring up why that happened, and we really don't have stances on where anybody stands, and we've only had a couple of months to even deal with this issue and organize it, and I think it really speaks to the power of our community that we've gotten it even off the agenda today, and I really appreciate any board member that asked for it to be taken off of the agenda, because the community has not had the information that we deserve to have before a decision like this is made, especially in a neighborhood like Gifford Park, where it has been a long and difficult and hard-working road of actually developing this neighborhood through the people that actually live in that community and the people who are actually affected by Yates. It's a really unique neighborhood. It's maintained its working class status and its diverse nature without being gentrified like so many other neighborhoods like Blackstone have. And putting a building like Yates just on the market willy-nilly without anybody knowing what's going on is not what Gifford Park needs. It's not what the people who attend Yates need, and it's not what the greater Omaha area needs or deserves. What we deserve is for you all to listen to what the community has been saying, rather than thinking that you know what's best for the people that attend Yates and for the people in that community. And like I said, we don't know where everybody's stance is, so I apologize and thank those of you who have been doing that and who have been standing up for our community. But we need more of that, and we need not just public meetings once a month where we say, we're probably gonna vote on this in January, y'all. Decisions this big that involve the community in this way deserve input that is binding from the community. It deserves people from the community actually being listened to and not just pretending that they're being listened to and voting regardless. So what I would really like to ask of you moving forward is that not only do you keep us publicly informed of when this vote's going to be happening, what the vote is actually on, answering the questions that have been raised of this board, but that you also then listen to the people in the community and take their input as we move forward. What would be ideal and what the community is asking for is for Yates to not be surplused, but at the end of the day, what really needs to happen is the people who are affected need to have a say in what happens. Whatever happens to Yates, whether it be surplused. And so what we need in order to do that is time, information, and the ability to actually give our input. So I hope that that's something that we can get moving forward. And at the end of the day, as elected officials, we need to know where all of y'all's stances are. And I apologize again, Mr. Snow, but you're running for legislature, and we cannot get an answer on whether you will defend your neighborhood and what they're asking of you. And this is, again, not to call anyone out, and it's not to be disrespectful. And we do appreciate, like, the communication that we've had going on. But like I said, I don't think we would have gotten an answer on why it was taken off of the agenda today if it hadn't been raised by a board member. So I appreciate everybody that is doing that work and is listening to the community, and I hope that we can continue, and I hope that everybody that needs to do better can do better on that. Thank you.
So, Ms. Smith, to your, Mr. Perlman spoke out of tone, not out of turn. He was supposed to do board comment, and that's why I was hesitant. I was the one that pulled it off the agenda. Board members asked me to pull it off, and I pulled it off the agenda. I live in Gifford Park. I live a block down the street. The next speaker is Sarah Howard.
All right, good evening, everybody. I'm Senator Sarah Howard, S-A-R-A-H-O-W-A-R-D. I represent District 9 in the Nebraska Legislature. I'm not sure how you guys do this in the evening, because this is exhausting. All right, I live at 132 North 40th Street, Apartment 15, Omaha, Nebraska, 68131. I just want to express my appreciation to this board and to Dr. Logan for their careful consideration of the issue of the Yates Community Center. Dr. Logan in particular has been very responsive to me. I had to go out of town for a couple of weeks, out of country in November, and I sent an extensive letter with lots of questions. And she responded to each and every one of them, and I'm very grateful for that. And I'm especially glad to hear about the delay. I know Mr. Snow has worked very hard on this and was integral in making that decision. The decision to declare Yates Building as surplus, the delay will give the community some time to get themselves in order. That's what we want. That's what we want the time for, right? We found out about this. I found out about this on October 28th, right? That's a very short amount of time for a community that has worked so hard. From my understanding, the Yates family sold the property to OPS in 1916 with the condition that it be used for a community purpose to honor Henry Yates. And I'm sure that this board, and I know that Gifford Park, wants to make sure that this wish remains honored and that the building continues to serve a community purpose. Delaying the decision on declaring the building surplus allows OPS and neighborhood leaders and other interested groups to come up with a plan that will save the building. I'll be honest with you, I think the main concern here is that the building gets sold, torn down, and a developer comes in and changes the makeup of this community that has worked so hard to become what it is today. I've represented this district for 8 years. It's different from when I started. And actually, my mom is going to speak right after me. She represented this area for the 8 years prior, and it's changed since that time, right? So in 16 years, you have a different community, but one that has worked so hard for what it has. And I would hate to see them lose it because we sold the building so quickly, and they didn't have the opportunity to come up with a better solution for you. So I'm happy to help in any way that you deem appropriate. I start work on Wednesday, but I'm here to help you, and I'm here to help guide these discussions if you want me to. I appreciate all of your time and attention to this issue. I appreciate your consideration, and I very much appreciate you moving the vote so that these constituents of ours and this neighborhood, this really incredible neighborhood, has the opportunity to save this building and to save their community in that way. So I appreciate your time. I can't believe you do this in the evenings, and I'm happy to stand for questions. I'll hang out for a little bit, but I hope to see you all in Lincoln during the session, okay? All right, thanks you guys.
Thank you, Senator. Our next speaker is Gwen Howard.
Thank you so much to Dr. Logan and the OPS School Board for giving me this opportunity to address you. I was elected in 2004, sworn in 2005, term limited out in 2013, followed by a very able individual who took my seat in District 9. During the time that I ran, 2003, 2004, and all the years that I was down in Lincoln, I became very familiar with Gifford Park and the Gifford Park neighborhood. And I know the dedication of the people that live there. I know how hard they work. I know how hard they have worked to accomplish what they've accomplished. In 2007, I attended a meeting at Yates with OPS and community individuals. And at that time, the push was to open Yates again as an elementary school. And OPS explained that the building was too small, there wasn't adequate parking, but they were willing to come to an agreement with the community to use the building for community purposes. And that's proven to be very worthwhile. I think that's been a cohesive element in Gifford Park, one to which all the people that live there are very dedicated to. I'd also like to share something with you, an issue that we had when I was in Lincoln and how we reached a conclusion and a solution that worked for everyone. While I was serving in the legislature, we had something come up that was very similar to this. We voted affirmatively to sell a building to a community organization, a nonprofit foundation that desperately wanted it. And quite frankly, we wanted to take it off of the state rolls because we were paying for upkeep, we were maintaining it, we were paying utilities. And it turned out to be the best of all worlds. And that building was Joslyn Castle. Now, I'm sure none of you would want to see Joslyn Castle lost to any number of unfortunate scenarios. And just as importantly, Gifford Park would like to retain Yates School in the same direction. So you might consider the option that we considered and that we moved forward with, which was to sell the building, the property, to the foundation for $1, a very reasonable price as far as we were concerned. It was a win-win. And I think the community benefited from it, the state benefited from it, and we certainly never heard a complaint, and it worked well for everyone. Thank you for your time. I have trust in all of you. I know how hard it is to be elected, and keep serving. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Adrian Peterson. Please spell your name and state your address. Thank you.
Thank you. Hello, good evening. My name is Dr. Adrian S. Petrescu. That is Adrian, A-D-R-I-A-N, S-P-E-T-R-E-S-C-U. I live on 3015 California Street, Omaha, Nebraska, 68131. And I'm a professor of law and public policy at Midland University, Duncan College of Business, and a neighbor of OPS here in Gifford Park, where I serve on Midtown Neighborhood Alliance. I was born in Romania. English is my third language. And it took me from 92 to 2011 to work directly to become a citizen of the United States. I became a citizen of the United States with much pride here in Gifford Park neighborhood. Indirectly, it took me much more since about 1976 when I first started reading about Philadelphia and Independence Hall during the Independence Bicentennial. I have a little girl who often volunteered here in Gifford Park, and she volunteered a few hours, but Gifford Park itself, by a low estimate, spends about 10,000 hours, others say 20,000 or more hours a year. That makes between 35 and 70 person 8-hour work days in volunteer work between soccer and tennis and neighborhood market and the commitment of our neighbors to make Gifford Park what 2 senators in a row have expressed previously so well that it has changed over the last 16 to 31 years. We feel safe here. I have an accent, in case you haven't realized yet. I have a name that's hard to pronounce. So my little daughter, by the time she got about 12, she told me, "Daddy, my English is much better than yours." Today she's in her 3rd year in college, and someday maybe she will find a cure to cancer. But she said that to me right here around the corner in our first house that we ever bought. I'm really glad that she got to say that to me in English. But I'm also very glad that I was able to actually, with my accent, parent her in English all these years. And so things happen for a reason. At some point I got to Texas, and then we had to take my university students to go talk to my college students, to go speak with families, bilingual families of freshmen in high school, to have the children commit to get good grades in school so that a national organization, Project Grad, would give them college tuition if they maintained a 3.0 or above average across 4 years of high school. In every household we went to visit the children, to have a 3-way contract between their school district and the parents and the university. You know, everywhere we went, it was our translator who would be the only way of that family to deal with any authority whatsoever, either our translator or the 14, 15-year-old child. A 15-year-old child upon whose shoulders we stayed the entire interaction of the family with the administration. That is the situation that is being averted here at Yates by way of allowing the parents to speak English, to be able to actually parent their children well in English. When my daughter turned 17, she once asked me, "You have 2 doctorates and all you do is teach adults high school completion in jail?" I do teach GED students, right? We have 40,000 of them here. And I said, somebody has to do it. I'm really, really thankful that the vote got delayed. I'm really, really thankful that you're considering our questions. And I have a letter that I wrote you, along with a few other leaders, and we signed. And in that letter, we outlined 8 different things that make Yates unique. You should have a copy in front of you. And
30
then
seconds.
we asked 12 questions that we kindly, the nitty-gritty questions about the plan, the budgeting, the rooms, the location of where would the programs go if they must go. But please keep Yates, and thank you very much for your support, for everything that you do to help our community grow. I appreciate it.
Our next speaker is Bev Horning. Please spell your name and state your address.
My name is Bev Hornig, B-E-V, Hornig, H-O-R-N-I-G, address 1613 Crawford Road, Omaha, Nebraska, 68144. I was raised and graduated from OPS. My kids all went through OPS. I live in OPS district, very strong supporter of a strong public school system, and I've always been very proud of OPS. I feel badly for the terrible budget concerns that all of you are facing. But as a retired ESL teacher from OPS, and I continue to work closely with refugees, I see an incredible need to continue Yates as a strong programming for the refugee and ESL families. Many of you may know some of these facts, but I'm going to give you some facts about refugees. The average stay in a refugee camp is 18 years. Less than 1% of refugees worldwide ever get resettled. In OPS, there are 2,400 refugee students with a total of 7,800 ELLs. 120 languages are spoken by almost 20,000 students in OPS. There are currently 17,000 students in OPS. That's 33% of all the students that have participated in an ELL program at some point in their school life. Refugees arrive with federal guidelines. They have a caseworker from a resettlement agency for only 3 months, at which time they are considered independent. Anyone that has worked with immigrants or refugees knows that that is so far off. I have continued to help a family since I retired 6 years ago, and they have been in the country for 10 years and still needed a lot of help. They're very vulnerable. There are so many people that take advantage of them in bad ways. It's very sad. They need a sense of community. Maslow's hierarchy is finally coming back around. I graduated 45 years ago from college, and that was a big part of my training. It's coming back to be important in education again. And the very basic needs of food, water, warmth, physiological needs, the feeling of safety, belonging, and love all come and are needed before students or anyone can feel comfortable learning. It is so important to provide these parents with a sense of community where they feel safe and secure, and Yates has provided that. If all the programming at Yates was moved to another school or other schools, it would never be the same, because I know space is at a premium. Maybe one school has space this year, but in 2 or 3 years, their student population may grow. There may not be room to provide the activities and programming that Yates provides, which is family rooms, family literacy, English, parenting, early childhood skills, English classes for adults, a social worker to help them connect to services they need, homeschool connection where the parents can understand what happens in schools, community gardens, sewing, citizenship, computer classes. They can get health services, cultural orientation classes from all kinds of outside agencies. I want you to consider the importance of keeping this community for them. This is a big chunk of families
30 seconds.
in OPS. And as this saying has been paraphrased over the years, as the twig is bent, so grows the tree. If we think about Maslow's hierarchies and what these families need to thrive in our wonderful community of Omaha, we need to provide this for them. Thanks.
Our next speaker is Maggie Jones.
Hi, my name is Maggie Jones, Maggie Jones. I've lived in the neighborhood, in the Gifford Park, Joslyn Castle neighborhood for 40 years. I live on 38th Street. It's a very fun Halloween street, if you've ever heard about us. And I can tell you that I remember when Yates was a grade school. And I can also tell you that it's never looked as good as it does now. It's in pretty doggone good shape. Yates building is a hub. It's a meeting lodge. It's a learning center where people come to the U.S. and can relax and find others like themselves with the same challenges and feel companionship and hope. I know this because I worked there. I worked there for 4 years. I am one of your early childhood special education paras. And I worked there for 4 years before we were moved over to Bell Ryan. I've seen firsthand families arriving and being very grateful to be here, but terribly fearful and saddened, and gradually gaining hope and a sense of community. Community center. Just focus on that specifically for a moment. The neighborhood needs this building to remain a community center. Community centers help a neighborhood community be healthier, both emotionally and physically, and have a direct impact on safety and crime. Right now, the neighborhood, thank you very much, has a brand new elementary school. And we also have a community center. Thank you for delaying your vote to give us a chance to work together toward a solution so that we can keep this community center in East Omaha. Thank you.
Thank you. The next item on our agenda is the consent agenda. I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda that is here before us.
So moved.
There's a motion on the floor by Ms. Ryan.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any abstentions? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Cracky,
Aye.
Perlman,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Snipe,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Goding,
Aye.
Hallman.
Aye.
9-9.
Motion carries. That was our meeting, folks. We're about to go into closed session. After closed session, we'll have board officer elections. Dr. Holman.
I move that the Board of Education go into closed session for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals, to discuss with the superintendent, secretary to the board, and legal counsel, real estate, negotiations, personnel matters, and legal advice.
There's a motion to go into closed session by Dr. Holman. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Ryan. Roll call, please.
Perlman,
Aye.
Ryan,
Aye.
Smith,
Aye.
Snipe,
Aye.
Snow,
Aye.
Cassidy,
Aye.
Goding,
Aye.
Hallman,
Aye.
Cracky.
Aye.
9-9.
Motion carries. Let me remind the board that the purpose for closed session is for the protection of the public interest and for the prevention of needless injury to the reputation of individuals, to discuss with the superintendent, secretary to the board, and legal counsel, real estate, personnel matters, negotiation, and legal advice. Let the record reflect the board went into closed session at 7:43.
I'm gonna say that to him and see what he says.
What?
I'm gonna say, you had my vote until you just.
All right. Oh.
Okay, perfect. Okay, great. If the afternoon doesn't work, we can do mornings. I prefer the morning. Then have her switch it. Okay.
Thinking about your hair looks great. I love this dress. Okay.
Welcome back, everyone. Let the record reflect the board came out of closed session at 8:14. The last item on our agenda is election of officers. The OPS Board of Education shall first elect its president and then vice president. Any member of the board may nominate or be nominated by another member of the board. Nominating speeches are not permitted. However, nominees shall have up to 5 minutes to speak following the close of nominations prior to the distribution of the ballots. Nominee speeches shall be in order of nomination. Election of officers of the Board of Education shall be kept by secret ballot. Election shall require a majority of all members of the board, policy 8130. So I will now open it up for nominations for board president. You're free at will. Just go ahead.
I nominate Mark Snow for president.
And I do accept that a nomination.
Making a speech.
I'm waiting for Mr. Ray. Here we do nominations. So it'll go in order. So all nominations first, then speech.
I'll nominate myself.
Is there any other nominations? Nominations for president are closed. When you're ready. Oh, so 5 minutes. I won't take 5 minutes. I won't take the full 5 minutes, so it's fine. I'm decided to run for board president for the third year. I really I appreciate the support of my colleagues on the board, and you know, I just want to get straight down to what I'm going to try to do better this third year. I know I've listened to many of the board members of their suggestions on how to lead, and I'm listening openly. My job here as board president is to serve my colleagues, you, members of the board, to also serve the superintendent. I also am elected by my sub-district, and sometimes when board members can't do things, it is my job to step up and do those. I do know that I need to do a better job at reaching out to everybody and you know, and sending more emails, and I can do that. Before board meetings, I plan to do more calls. But I really care about this, and I don't have an agenda. And I know I'm running for the legislature, but that has nothing to do with this at all. That's secondhand, because this is firsthand. And if anybody really knows me, they know that. So I really appreciate to be able to serve you all as board president for another year. I never thought 7 years ago when I got on this board that I would be a leader of this board, and I'm very proud where we have come, where we have gone, and where we're going in the future with our superintendent, with staff. It just changes, just the refreshness that we had, because I do remember when we had tough times on this board. So thank you for the nomination. Mr. Perlman.
Thank you. I just wanted to, actually, I'm not even really that interested in being school board president, but I feel like something needs to change because this board, I don't even think the public, who have basically all left, has any idea the lack of information that's being provided to this board on a daily and weekly basis. Most of the time, we, are getting virtually no information about what we're voting on. We're asking to approve items that have already been approved. Things like the audit, which came to us 2 weeks late, had already been submitted to the State Board of Education, and then we're asked to approve it. Our approval or non-approval had nothing to do with anything because it had already been submitted. We can't resubmit it. Another example is the South Omaha High School design. We were asked to approve it. There was no approval being asked by us. It was just another rubber stamp. We asked what happens if we don't approve it. Nothing happens if we don't approve it, just like everything else that comes in front of us. If other people are asking questions about what's going on, I don't know about it. I don't think anyone knows about it because the answers aren't being shared with anyone. I'd love to know who submitted input for the Better Together coalition, which is probably the most important thing that this district's doing, is trying to solve the pension deficit. And I can't name any board member who supported or provided any input on what solutions would be provided to put the district on the best path to provide what's best for teachers who have already retired or teachers whose retirements are affected. So I'm not going to get, I'll be lucky to get one vote to be board president, and I know that, but I just need to make a record that this is actually not normal, how this board's been operating. And we hear every year around this time how things are going to change, and they don't. And it is what it is, but I can't just sit by and watch decisions being made with no input. The reason, I don't even know why the Yates thing was put on the agenda. I don't know who put it on the agenda. At this point, I'm confused about who took it off the agenda, but clearly that's just a microcosm of this board being completely kept out of the loop of the discussions. I mean, that's been on the table for 90 days now, and for folks to feel like they don't have the answers to their questions, there were 2 community meetings. How many board members showed up? 2? And then we're sitting here tonight wondering why it's not on the agenda. So, it is what it is. This is not normal. This is not how school boards operate. But it is what it is.
Snow. Perlman. Perlman. Snow. Snow. Perlman. Snow. 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 6 Snow, 3 Perlman.
Thank you. Moving on to Vice President. I will open up the floor for nominations for Vice President.
I nominate Dr. Holman.
There's a nomination for you, Dr. Holman. Do you accept?
I accept.
Are there any other nominations for Vice President?
I'll nominate myself.
Are there any other nominations? Nominations are closed. Do any of you want to give a speech or anything? Go ahead, Dr. Holman.
I've enjoyed my experience this past year as serving as your vice president. I do think that whoever's in either one of these leadership roles have to be committed to being in the leadership role and not just wanting to do it just to be doing it. Both of these positions take a lot of time, they take a lot of effort, and they take a true commitment, not only to the board, but just to the role in itself. And so I am thoroughly excited about the potential of serving as your vice president again for this next year.
Thank you. Actually, I just nominated myself so I could talk for a minute. I have the world of respect for you, Dr. Holman, and I actually hope you are vice president again. Hopefully, you can work towards improving, the communications with the board. I know you were the one educational expert on the board, so I know you have unique insight on, how things can change. I know you're dedicated to it. So hopefully we can all work together on making things better this year. Thanks.
Holman. 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 Perlman. Holman. Holman. 8 Holman, 1 Perlman.
Thank you. Congratulations, Dr. Holman. Meeting's adjourned at 8:27. Thank you.